I'll get you, Jimmy. What happened here? What are you doing, pseudo-police Inspector Meister?
Nothing, sir.
Give me that. Get out of here.
Sorry, sir.
Wie soll das denn gehen?
No! Oh, jetzt das Ding. Oh nein, es ist durch. Jetzt kriegen wir es nie wieder auf.
Wie, was machen wir falsch?
So.
Give me that.
Ist die Batterie drin? Nein, oder?
Servus Freunde, my name is Jimmy Cage.
And I'm Deniz, the Buddymeister.
We have reviewed more than 400 indie movies on the channel, and the one today was once again picked directly for us by one of our awesome Masala tier supporters. Skadoosh wanted us to review another Shyam Benegal film, so we thought, why not just go with his second feature film? He has already made many documentaries in the 1960s and 70s before his 1974 feature film debut Auch, which we already reviewed last year.
1 year later, he followed it up with Nishant, another film that can be counted among the parallel cinema movement. It was based on an original screenplay by playwright Vijay Tendulkar, and it's focused on the power of the rural elite and the sexual exploitation of women during the time of feudalism in Telangana in 1945.
First of all, what a tremendous cast. Nishant marks the acting debut of Naseeruddin Shah as well as one of the earliest roles for Smita Patil. Both should of course become key figures in Indian cinema, with Smita Patil unfortunately passing away way too early at the age of just 31 in 1986. The film also brings back Shabana Azmi and Anand Nag, who already star together in Benegal's Ankur.
Then there's also the legendary Amrish Puri in the villain role of the eldest Zamindar, and finally our main protagonist, the schoolmaster and husband of Shabana Azmi's character, played by Girish Karnad, who we haven't seen in anything else before, I think.
Nishant is another powerful film by Benegal. It didn't hit me as hard or excited me as much as Ankur or Mammo, but it's without a doubt a strong portrayal of power structures and gender relations.
It definitely is. I have to say though that it was quite a hard watch for me. I felt pretty miserable almost the whole time, and I know, or I guess that I'm supposed to feel like that because the movie tackles uncomfortable but all the more important topics, but I couldn't quite devote myself to the movie, give myself up to it. That does not mean that I don't think it's a good movie, because it absolutely is. I especially like the first 45 minutes, the whole introduction to the village and the characters.
I also like the slow introduction, the establishing part the most. The first 50 minutes, in which we, like you said, are introduced to the small village, the iron grip of the Zamindar and his younger good-for-nothing brothers, and how the school teacher arrives with his wife and son and begin their new life. We have these different relationships, and there's this tense and ominous atmosphere. You know that something bad will happen, but you don't quite know yet what exactly it will be.
The character development and the world building are done really well, and you don't need much time to understand the who's who of this village. And you understand who has a say and who has to bend.
To be honest, once Sushila gets abducted, the movie became a little bit less interesting for me. There's of course a feeling of anger and an impotence above all. Powerlessness, as nobody is able to help the schoolmaster. My problem with this might primarily stem from the movie's age, or that I have seen a lot of similar things since. It was just very obvious that we would now go through the typical notions of everyone, every authority, every faction that is usually there to help people, not being able to do anything just because of the immense power and influence of the Zamindar.
Yeah, so it's not like you don't get where I'm coming from when I'm saying that it was a hard and somehow miserable watch for me.
No, I absolutely get you, but for me it wasn't miserable or anything. I just lost interest a bit, because I've seen a lot of movies that tackled similar topics in a similar way. And thankfully, there's still more to Nishant than that. For example, the dynamic with Smita Patil's character Rukmani. She has to deal with the new situation that there's another woman at her home now.
The different dynamics between the characters are really what makes this movie for me. Besides the great acting, of course, which comes naturally with that. The way the three brothers act, the way Vishwam, played by Naseeruddin, is kind of like the more reluctant brother, whereas Anjaya and Prasad are full-blown bullies. And how they all buckle as soon as they face the oldest one, Jagirdar. And of course, the interactions with the women in their house and how Sushila kind of changes after some time. It's really interesting and also disturbing.
I also really love the small scene that shows us how the schoolmaster has to take care of his son now. Something that was mostly, or perhaps always, done by his wife before. It's almost shot for shot the same scene that we see at the beginning of the movie, only with him instead of her looking after their son in the morning. That was quite touching.
I agree, that's a great scene. Particularly because it evokes this strange feeling of everyday life and daily routine amidst a great tragedy or shock. Life has to go on no matter what, especially when there's a young human being you have to take care of.
Now, the ending of the movie certainly delivers a punch and walks on that fine line of being kind of cathartic and being very tragic at the same time. But it was also again something that I pretty much expected and was just waiting for to finally happen.
Well, I didn't expect it. I actually hoped that things would turn out differently, but there's this great scene, the accidental meeting of Sushila and her husband at the temple, that of course shows us very clearly that things have changed and probably won't ever be the same again.
Nishant has a certain kind of atmosphere that really gets to you. A part of that comes from the heroine characters. Jagirdar, Prasad, Anjaya and Vishwam. Men that do everything to keep other people down. But it also comes from the barren locations. This vast land that seems like no one's able to tame it.
Well said. Adding to that is of course also the way the story progresses. The schoolmaster searches for all kinds of ways to get his wife back and finally realizes that only teachings and enlightenment can help. And I really like the way in which this subtle and slow revolt is displayed here.
Jagirdar and his brothers know that something's up, but they still don't believe that the people of the village are smart and organized enough to really revolt. It's pure ignorance.
And the way they get what they deserve hits hard, especially because you quickly realize that things get out of hand with this mass revolt. Shyam Benegal and his cinematographer Govind Nihalani, who we know as cinematographer and director, did a good job creating this special atmosphere that we already talked about, that really gives you chills when the masses start to riot.
Yes, and when you think about the realities behind the story, the way landlords treated people at the time, the way women were treated, held captive as trophies, abused and raped, it makes it all the more unsettling. And there's no doubt that things like this still exist in this world.
Which makes it even more unsettling. There's this nice image at the end. A boy walks through the villa of Jagirdar and his brothers and sees all the carnage and the bodies. And you can see it in his eyes and the way he moves that he's thinking, what the fuck are these adults doing?
So, what would we say in German about Nishant?
Auch wenn wir Geschichten wie jene, die Nishant erzählt, bereits kennen, hat uns der Film mit seiner ungeheuer dichten und beunruhigenden Atmosphäre in den Bann gezogen. Die starken schauspielerischen Leistungen und das feinsinnige Zusammenspiel von Regie und Kamera tun dabei ihr Übriges.
I give Nishant 7 out of 10. It's more like 7.4, but I don't do that.
For me, it's also 7 out of 10. It's more like 7.1, but I don't do that either. Did you know that legends say that the name of Telangana derives from Trilinga Desa? Lord Shiva, who is the god in this part of the country, descended in linga form in one of the 3 mountains of Trilinga Desa. One of these mountains was Telangana.
Certainly didn't know that. So, what are your thoughts about Nishant? Leave a comment. You can hit me up on Twitter, Instagram, Letterboxd and also on Patreon, simply at the Jimmy Cage.
And you can hit me up on Twitter at the Buddymeister.
And as always, if you enjoyed this episode, please give us a thumbs up, share, subscribe, whatever you like.
And make sure you hit that bell for all we have to tell.